Let's look at some very nice spray painting art. Some people use the spray paint cans for graffiti, some used to paint them for the cars, or to repair anything, or to paint a radiator or heating in their home. And there are some very creative people who can use the same paint to create wonderful art. It's all happening very quickly. Within 10 minutes an artwork is going to emerge. So pay attention to each individual step. This first step was the texture of the structure that is going to appear. Now the artist is drying out the paint with fire. Painting and fire is a very interesting combination. Okay, this is the stillet or the frame of the artwork or the building. And already at this stage we can see that it is a Colosseum. The interesting thing about the spray painting art is that when the artwork is firstly emerges, it's kind of bland, it's all fuzzy, you cannot see what's going to emerge, but in the end it's all going to make sense. So now he's making a texture of the paint. When we observe a wonderful artist, a master of his craft, then we can learn the techniques and the tricks. And there are many tricks happening at the same time at the speed of seconds or milliseconds. We can learn a lot by observing a person who has done this type of artwork for a long time or who has learned with some other great master of this art. It's all happening so very quickly, so that one might think that it's easy. It's not easy. It does require a lot of hours for practice and a lot of hours for understanding where the paint is flowing when you spray it. The distance, the amount, the pressure is all important. He's using a paper to draw shadow lines. And now the structure is starting to appear, starting to emerge. The combination of light and the shadow does create an illusion of an image, which also makes an interesting question. What we perceive might be an illusion of what is real, just because we perceive it as a combination of some things, like light and shadow. The artwork is flat, but we can perceive it as a three-dimensional object from some distance. Now the artist is using a heavy object to keep the stencil or the frame of the building in place, so it doesn't create any errors. Now he's adding some highlights, some lights. In a way, the artist, this master, he knows what he's doing, he has done it before, and he doesn't have to think twice about the steps, so the speed of the creation is intense. There is some creativity going on, but basically he knows what he's doing. It's a bit like factory work, but nobody is pushing him, so there is a real creation, like a real flow of art. It's like you wouldn't say that he's pushed to create the painting at this speed. It's a natural process. There is no pressure. It's like a speed painting, but it's also precise. The artwork does emerge from the emotion, and when we look at the artwork that did emerge from the emotion, then we can see some movement, or we can see some like creativity, some mistakes maybe. And this is exactly what's happening in here. So the positions of the dots and everything is all by emotion and randomness a little bit. There is always a slight variation between the versions of the same artwork. When the artist does enter the state of the creativity, the maximum creativity, when he doesn't think about his motions or what he's going to do next, then he enters this space where one can claim that you are connected to the universe or to some kind of intelligence that is guiding you to create the artwork. Maybe this kind of intelligence is the subconscious mind, maybe it's the experience, maybe just the emotion, pure emotion. You look at what you are doing and then you feel happy about this, or you want to correct it. And in this case, if the artist wants to correct something, a mistake, he just goes into it and he corrects it on the spot without overthinking too much. This type of work, of artwork or painting, is very nice to express emotion of the moment. And you can also correct mistakes if the emotion wasn't good. You can see this wonderful artist to correct the mistakes many times. Oh, it looks like the moon. And now he's going to create the texture. The spray painting or the graffiti art does allow some form of correction. You either overpaint or you create something out of the error. Looks a little bit rough, and you see the spray painting does allow to correct the mistakes by creating a fuzzy, foggy, undiscernible effects. We see the center of the artwork did come out very sharp or discernible, and the edges they're not sharp, so the main object is in focus. That was a very fast artwork. I'm sure he could have done much more out of this, but then again the speed and the emotion will get lost when he is trying to slow down. And the original Colosseum is just over there, not far away. Yes, it's a very nice type of art that people can practice. The artists who like graffiti, it doesn't have to be on the wall, it can be also on paper. And it's very useful for decoration objects, cars, trucks, trains. It's a very useful form of art if you want to practice it. That's the #1 Colosseum of Roman Empire. More than 50 gates. Look at the size of the blocks. Not sure if man-made or artificial stone, but they are huge. Imagine how many of those blocks they had to lift up. Thousands, maybe a million. All manual labor. No power electric tools, just basic tools that work with gravity and weights. That's very impressive because the blocks are very heavy and very massive. It's still an impressive structure 2000 years after it was built. Nice. To see inside of the Roman Colosseum, you have to pay a little bit, but I give you something for free, or you watch a documentary on the internet about it. Here's a free preview. Very nice, massive structure. And here we see the Arch of Triumph, and just behind it, the major Colosseum of the Roman Empire, where all the major fights took place. People against people, animals against animals, animals against people, and all the possible combinations of that. Now they don't fight there anymore. This street was to be for the procession of the fighters and the animals and presentation of the show just before you buy a ticket to the Colosseum. And now the people buy the tickets just to enter inside, and there is no fighting. So the point is that you don't have to have a fight in the Colosseum and people still buy a ticket. Very fun.
And I feel very sad when people might go from birth to the grave without ever having a psychedelic experience. It's a birthright to find your own soul, and the people should be informed about that.